Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Let's Get You Painted. I am Alec, and today I am joined with one of my co-hosts from the Atlanteans, Joe. Joe, how are you doing today?
Doing good, Alec. Excited to be here and be part of what you're cooking.
I'm so excited,
Excited to
man.
see what you do with that wyvern you're painting.
Yep, I am. So one of the things I'm doing is I've already dry brushed it a little bit. I just did
Hmm.
uh, gray and then a little bit of some of the white highlights. So what I'm going to be doing now, I'm just going to demonstrate one of the ways you can just add color and just build up on it, and then hit it with a wash, hit it with highlights, and get the entire thing done in about 45 minutes. And considering it's
All
an
right.
80 mil model, to have the entire thing basically five colors. Well, it's not true five colors because it's going to be blending, but I'm going to do five different paint palettes or colors on my palette, and then it's going to be blended throughout the thing. So if someone asks, I can be like, "Look, I have a video to show there were five different colors. They've just been blended nicely."
I mean, I think you already are looking like you've got some pretty good depth and tone on the model. So,
That's
um,
that's the hope. So what I'm
I
thinking
feel
about,
like people don't really count colors. They mostly just harass you if they look like if you look like you've really phoned it in. Does that make sense?
I think it
Like,
does. I try not to phone it in though. Like I really try to like do good work. But I've
yeah,
been
yeah,
trying to teach people. I don't want to say cheating ways to do it, but just more efficient ways with their time, because so many times people like they have kids, they have work, they have family, and they don't get to put that time towards painting. So if I can teach them how to take an 80 mil like this, which has detail, it has like some really good detail, but
yeah,
all you
it's
have to
quite
do,
amenable to the dry brushing, right? Like I think
it
that's a pretty
is.
solid technique for it, given how many edges this thing has, right?
So if you just hit like just in these, so these like these points right here, I'm gonna hit with a red, and then up here on these higher points, I'm gonna hit with a silver, and then on the chest, I'm gonna hit with an orange, and then on the spines in the back, I'm gonna do a purple, and then I'm gonna do a couple washes, and then we're gonna be done. I might add like a
Yep.
little bit of actual hand painting in elsewhere, but by doing that, it's going to hit that three color minimum, probably closer to five. It's going to look good from 2 to 3 feet away, and as long as you don't have the model like all up in your face, it's going to look pretty decent. And these models, you
Yeah,
don't have to show all the detail.
I think that seems really smart for these Chimera models. I've looked at them. I don't know. They they s- I think they're like kind of blank palettes in some way. Like you can kind of do whatever with them.
Hmm.
That's also what like I think makes them hard to paint, right? Like you don't have like, oh, here's a boot and a belt and a sword, and you like know what all those colors, all those things are. You have like, here's different like kinds of plating and different kinds of like, underskin, and you can do kind of whatever you want with it. It's sort of open to your interpretation, which
Yeah,
is cool, but it also makes it hard, I think, sometimes.
I mean, it does a little bit. It's like you said, where it's kind of open to your interpretation of what you want to do and things like that. Um,
It's like a little bit less paint by numbers, I think, right? So like you were saying, you're going to put tones in certain places and not like, you're not going to color all the pants brown, for example.
yeah,
Like,
it's not like where like with Cynthia, where I know that each of her boots is going to be a certain brown, and then her each of her ammo pieces is going to be a different silver, and then her weapon and her hair and her cloak and her belt, and those are all going to be different browns, but they're all going to be there. This it's more open ended. But it's supposed to be kind of a amalgamation of a living and animatronic, so it doesn't necessarily have to have those hard defined areas, and that's a
yeah,
little bit nicer.
absolutely. And I think it's why I've seen some like incredibly beautiful Chimera models, right? And they take really well to like abstract paint schemes too. Um, but it's also kind of why I've stayed away from them as a painting project, right? You need more, I don't know, I feel like they lend themselves well to painting with some artistry.
Well, I would say you have, like, I've seen you paint. I would expect you to have some beautiful artistry with how you paint and everything like that.
I did, yeah, I did some of my like Vroggers is like freehand kind of models,
Yeah.
and that is and like I did some, some like kind of freehanding on my Abyssal King, but it's tough. Like it's a different world than the like, figure out what color everything is and paint those things those colors, Um, I mean, there's artistry in that too, choosing good colors that go together and that kind of thing. But I think you can get really abstract here, which is neat.
So one of the things I do when I'm controlling for dry brushing, like usual, let me take my ring off so I don't stain it, because that's all I need to do is get in trouble that way. I control the dryness by how dry I have it on my hand. And that's one of those
Mhm.
things that you learn over the years because you want it to be dry but not too dry. And I know that sounds really dumb. I know you understand like the feel of it. It's one of those things for the
Yeah,
people at home that it
if
just
the paint,
you kind of feel it as you
yeah,
know it.
if the
So
paint
go ahead.
is really dry, it gets like a chalky dry brush, right? And you don't really
Hmm.
want that.
No.
And which is why I think you put them on the wet palette at least to give a little bit of wetness to them.
Yep.
If it's too wet, it doesn't do the dry brushing thing, and it just kind of smears all over. So that's bad too. So yeah, I think you're right. You want something in the middle, um, and if you get the right paint consistency, then dry brushing works awesome and it's fast and really effective. And I think the hard part in it is just like seeing if you get the consistency right.
Well, also it's one of those things. And one of the cool things you can do when you dry brush like this is if you do make a mistake, you can actually come back with a standardized brush and fix it by just painting in a small area.
Yeah. It can be a little bit tricky, right? Because their dry brush colors tend to be like less um, what's the word for this? Like less covering. And if you manual brush them in, they come in pretty hard.
Yeah.
I do the same thing you do with the hand. And it makes me look ridiculous a night after I've been dry brushing, right? Because my whole hand is covered in like different colors of paint. I know some people use gloves, but I don't know. I don't care that much. I'm
See,
not that worried
when I
about
use gloves, I don't get the right feel because I think I can tell like so I have this is wetter right here. I don't know if you can see.
it.
And then
Yeah.
this is where this is my happy median. So I take from here and I then move it here to get it to the right dryness, and then I go from here to the model. And I don't think I could feel what I needed to if there was a glove there in the way.
If that's a glove in the way. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, one thing I do differently is I usually use a dry palette to put my paint on for this. And there are pluses and minuses to it. The paint eventually dries out. You still need to get water in the dry brush, right? A little
Hmm.
tiny bit of
A little
moisture in
bit. Yeah, you don't want it to be overly wet.
it.
I have a toddler that
You
is,
got to help her. Yeah, yeah,
yes,
yeah.
she is
I
very
recognize that.
interested she sees the pinks and so normally she doesn't get to see what's going on here because normally it's 9:30 at night when I'm doing this and she's not getting to see, but now she is and she's like, oh, let me put my hand here.
Yeah, I've done the same. I don't know. I let my daughter mess with my paints and my wet palette and stuff. I don't let her do the droppers because she's the one time I don't know she uses all the paint and there's no paint left.
Yes.
But I'll let her like mess around with a brush on a wet palette. I've held her in my lap a few times when I painted and let her like watch that way. It's
Hmm.
way tricky because if she decides to move, like you're gonna move, your
Oh
thing's
yeah,
gonna get messed up.
she's
So
kind of
it's like extra
bumping right
challenging.
now. Hey, I love you. Can you go have your snack? Go have your apple juice or your applesauce in the fridge. She's like bumping me and I'm like,
And
I'm
away she
putting
goes. I just saw the shadow. It's fun, right?
and
Just
she
never
just
know.
runs, yeah.
Yeah,
I
kids are
mean,
fun.
at that age, like when they're in that happy toddler phase, I'm like, I'm gonna go do this, and she's like, okay, and I was like, all right. And she's like, I love you. I was like, I love you.
Me too. Yeah. I don't know. Toddlers are complicated, but they're fun.
They are.
So I'm not painting today because I'm about to move. So all of my models are packed up. All my display cases are empty. All my paints are put away.
Oh,
I was hoping
man.
Scuttlebutt would get here in time for this, but he's slotted for delivery later today. Though it says he's still in Charlotte, so I don't know. Maybe actually tomorrow. But just enjoying hanging out, seeing what you got going on.
No, I appreciate that. Like I said, I've wanted to have you on the podcast for a while. Hold on one second.
Yeah.
We had to locate the apple juice. Sorry about that, Joe. It
Hey,
was,
still
it was.
impressed that she can do it. I so I got a question for you, Alec.
Go ahead, sir.
How did you start painting?
How did I start painting? So I
And how
started
did you feel
painting.
about it when you started? Yeah.
Oh, so I didn't know what I was doing when I first started. It would have been the early 90s, like probably like 91 to 93. So this would have been like Rogue Trader or
Were you like a
uh
teenager or like
no, I was junior high.
okay, dang.
So yeah, this because it would have been like probably 94, 93, 94. So yeah, this would have been like junior high getting ready to go into high school. And yeah, I know I'm aging myself. People are like, "Wait, that wed?" Um, and I went into a game store with my little brother, and we both picked up, I think it was Warhammer Fantasy first, and then we went from Warhammer Fantasy to picking up a couple Rogue Traders, and then Rogue Traders to 40K.
Okay.
And I didn't know what I was doing at first, and I would just slather on like rattle can, just
Oh
going like
yeah.
right
Nice
here.
nice thick rattle can prime or whatever,
Oh
right?
yeah, didn't thin out my paints at all. Didn't know how to
Craft
dry
paints,
brush.
maybe? Did you buy actual like Citadel paints or were you doing like craft paints and stuff?
I did craft paints at first, just like I did craft brushes.
Hmm.
Because I would go to like Joanne Fabrics, and or I would go to was it Michael's, and so I'd go to those types of places and get like the cheapest of the cheap paint, and I would get the cheapest of the cheap um everything brushes, and then I would just slather on to get to those three colors because the local game store where I was at that point in time had a very strict, policy on it. It had to be three colors, it had to be based, and all those things just
Oh
to play in
yeah.
the store, not even at a tournament, just in the store because that's what like old GW stores wanted.
Yeah,
And
they wanted to maintain their image. I mean, I think they still do, right?
they do. The last time I was in a GW store would have been in Virginia Beach. There was that was one that was pretty close to my house, and yeah, they would let you play unpainted in the store. So they had lacked a little bit from where they were in the 90s and 2000s, um, but it definitely wasn't. I think it kind of depended on who your manager or who the manager was
Yeah,
of
I
the
think
store
so
at the
too.
time was. And
Hmm.
back then, like even the GW stores weren't as I don't want to say as clean. It was just like they were darker stores, didn't have great air circulation, things like that.
Shackles hanging on the walls, all
Yeah, like it was you'd go in, you'd be like, "Yep, this is a game store. This is a game and comic
the
store." And so that's where I used to. So eventually I rotated from there and I did start to buy Citadel paints because I started cutting grass and I started lifeguarding at the local pool. So I had
nice.
spending money.
Hmm.
And then I would come in and buy like his brushes. Like I'd buy one of the Citadel brushes, and then I'd buy one or two of the old Citadel pots, like lead
Did
belcher and
you
stuff.
so did you like painting or were you painting just to like get enough paint on the models so that you could get in the game store?
So I like painting now. I didn't like painting back then. I
Yeah,
wanted
I'm the
to
same.
play.
I am kind of the same way. I was curious if you were too. Yeah.
No, I mean I was a young adult who or young kid who I just wanted to get in there and throw dice and just kill things. And I was playing Wood Elves and it wasn't horrible, so I just throw.
Oh shoot, you
Um,
played Wood Elves too? Okay.
I
Yeah,
played
my
Wood Elves in
story is real
fantasy.
similar to yours. That's so
Yeah,
funny.
I loved using. So here's where it really got like cheesy. So Wood Elves were supposed to run Dryads and Glade Guard and Archers. I tried to go as many. what were they called? Rangers, the ones that were they were not in block pattern, they were in skirmish pattern.
Are you talking about War Dancers?
No, no,
The
no,
like
the
naked dude with the spears, or the Way Watchers?
Way Watchers,
You
the
must be talking
guys that
about Way Watchers.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Way Watch. It's been a few years to the Way Watchers, so because there were less of them, and I could put them in trees, which helped me. But I used to run them with tree folk and dryads. So I would
Nice.
run a very expensive point army with fewer models, which means I had to paint less.
Yep. That's classic technique right there, right?
Yes. Whereas
People love
like
the big models, right? Paint a little bit less, get it on
yeah,
the table faster, right?
you paint what was that named tree folk we had?
Durthu.
Trench what?
I think it was Durthu, right?
What we had him, we had another one, something bark.
Oh, maybe I didn't.
Or
Durthu might be too modern.
no, we had one. It was like he was a weird looking like one arm was like back and one arm was forward. I remember him being like a $47 pewter model and it was stupid expensive. And it was like the
Mhm.
most expensive model I had bought at
I
that
think I
point.
have this thing. He's like pewter, and he's kind of squat, and he's got one arm way up in the hand, one
Yep.
arm at the side, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that guy. I had him. I had
Tree
him painted.
bark.
He was like the centerpiece of my army for a long
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Yeah. So I had him. So like I had like it was by no means a good army. But if you didn't
Hmm.
know what you were playing into, because you would like, oh, he's playing wood elves, they would expect, like I said, Glade Guard. They would expect archers. Maybe some of the Eagle Riders, which I eventually did get into Eagle Riders, but they'd expect,
Well,
that
I
like a
never bought
fast.
those, but I thought they looked incredible. I
They were
remember the spread from them in the army book and how beautiful I thought they were.
so
Like,
Eagle Riders is where I started enjoying painting because I
oh,
enjoyed
okay,
painting the eagles. I enjoyed learn because I picked up a book from the library on how to paint feathers, like an
yeah.
actual book on how to paint, like, artistically, not miniature wise. And so my eagles of my eagle riders or my hawk riders were my best looking pieces. Um, and I think I had like 9 of them because I think it was like 3 per unit. But yeah, so that's where I started enjoying painting because up until that point, I just wanted to get yellow, green, brown, black on a model, and
On a
put
model as
some
fast as you
gravel,
could.
yeah, put some
Yeah.
some gravel and base on it and get it done. And it was funny because my younger brother, he played Bretonians and he used to beautifully paint his knights, like
Oh, really?
checkerboard
I mean,
pattern
they
and
can be very beautifully painted. They're a painter's army for sure.
yes,
Yeah.
and so he would bring this beautiful Bretonian army, and he would put it against my ugly wood elves, and yeah, that's how I got into painting, and then eventually I went from there into 40K, where my first army for 40K was, of course, Smurfs, because everybody's first army is Smurfs.
Okay. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
played Smurfs for about 6 months, and then I left Smurfs and went into Dark Angels and then I played Dark
Oh,
Angels all the way until 7th edition when I got out. Like that's when I finally sold all of
that's when
everything.
you bailed. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess technically I didn't
And did
because I
you like?
still.
Were you painting for fun during that point, or were you still painting to get models on the table?
Oh, I was
I mean,
painting
now
for
you
fun at that
definitely
point.
paint because you enjoy it, right?
I was
Like,
painting for fun at that point in time. Like when I started painting, because that's when I got into like kit bashing. When I played um, Dark Angels is when I used to kit bash with magnets and I adjust things. Like I would cut, the shoulder to the elbow to the hand because I wanted a different forearm piece or a different forearm angle. And that, after I'd already kit bashed well enough, now I wanted to learn how to paint even better, which is where I started dry brushing and, going into those further steps.
yeah, learning some more techniques
And
for sure.
yeah, and then I still hate painting faces. Like if you looked at all my Dark Angels, they'd be like, "Why did you kit bash Belial so he has a helmet on?" I was like, "Cause I hate faces. All of my guys, they all have helmets."
I feel you. I hate like human flesh. It's a tone I have not figured out, not mastered. There's tons of tutorials out there. I think I'll have to paint some eventually, but yeah, right now it's a thing where I'm like way uncertain. It looks good if you get it right, you know. Yeah,
So
and
the only
faces are
thing
like the hardest part, like the highest, skill level of human flesh.
painting hair can be so much of a pain. I can paint gray hair really well because I'll start with um, either white and then add like darker highlights to give you that salt and pepper, or I had black and then I add gray and white to give you again that salt and pepper. So I like having a
Mhm.
lot of my people being older, but trying to make, young brown hair, younger blonde hair is difficult. I did learn how to do like orangish red hair because I worked on it, which is why all of my people who have hair in my
All of your
protector have
people
been
are
off.
gingers. That's
They're all
funny.
they're all gingers, which is it's one of those
Uh,
humorous things.
yeah.
So what I'm doing now is I'm adding a little bit of orange and I'm going to add it onto my wet area and then I'm going to blend it in over here. And then this is going to get added in as another step for dry brushing. And by blending into the red and the purple, it's going to, add in some of the color and hopefully make it look good. We'll see. This all might come crashing down, but I'm not going to strip it. Even if it looks horrible, I'm not going to strip it. I'm just going to keep going for two reasons.
I
One,
was curious why you were leaving the top of those wings empty, and now I see, right? Like, 'cause you were planning on putting the orange there.
yeah,
Yeah,
I think the
kind of a
orange is,
brighter highlight. Yeah.
yeah. And this orange is not wanting to coat as well as that purple. So
Orange is such a hard color for this. Yeah.
it maybe I should have done the red, like I should have done the reddish purple up there and then done orange on top, but I
Yep.
wanted to
Or pink and then layer the orange over it, I think could work. I think you could have even
what?
taken that pink all the way up to the top and then put the orange above it, and that might have
Here
helped.
it is. It's coming out more on where the whiter is.
Yeah, it's such a thin, poorly covering color in general that it needs a little bit of help.
Yeah, but I think it's not bad. Again, these guys, so I'm gonna hit them with a little bit of a. So I don't dip my models. I do a paint on wash when I do a wash at the end, and then I'll come back and I'll edge highlight. And
Hmm.
by doing that, it's gonna bring a little bit more depth to the model. And again, it's gonna get the whole thing painted a little bit quicker. But
Okay,
it's
so I want to pick up on something you said. You said you
go ahead.
don't strip your models,
I don't.
and I love stripping my models.
Why? I figure I'd rather, and this is gonna sound like probably pretentious. I'd rather just buy a new model and paint a new model than strip and like I will give away the old model or maybe it'll just sit on the shelf. But I would rather do that than strip it and start again.
I mean, I get it. Stripping is annoying, but you know, for me, like, I remember when I first got my airbrush, like the way I learned to airbrush was I had like an Archidon, and I would like paint it, and then I'd
Hmm.
strip the Archidon, and then I'd paint it, and then I'd strip the Archidon again, and I did that like I don't know, probably 4 or 5 times before I was like, okay, I'm like comfortable enough with this to like paint something. Um, I like what I like about stripping models is to me it like takes off the pressure to try to get it right the first time.
Okay.
So like if something doesn't work out, that's fine. I keep on. I'll probably keep painting the model even if I know I'm going to strip it, right? Because there's more stuff to learn, more things to figure out. And when I get to the end, I strip it, think about what I've learned, and start all over. And I
But
obviously don't do that for every model, but when I'm learning something new, when I've got a new paint scheme, like when I started my brines, I did that a bunch. I did it a bunch with my Trench Crusade models that I was painting. It just takes time to learn what you want to do, but and
well,
so
what about
I'm not
if
sad to
you
go back and like retry.
when you do that though, if you do a different model, like for example, if you don't strip it and you do the like a new model, then you can compare the two. You could put them next to each other and see the difference.
It's true, but I'm not the test model. Usually I try a bunch of weird stuff on it,
Okay.
and so I'm not going to want to play that model. So if I need that model for the purposes of playing, I'm gonna have to either get a new one, like you said, or strip it. So,
Gotcha. Well,
but I think
luckily
you're
my
right. It does help you compare things.
So, Alec Jr. has been the one who's been playing Chimera most of the time, and he likes how I paint these Chimera. So I've been kind of lucking out where
Yeah.
I'm getting painting done because I enjoy just the painting. Like it's calming
Well,
for me.
there's different reasons to paint, right? You're not trying to max this model out, right? Like
No,
you're just
I'm
trying to get it to look cool and have some nice colors and textures. And...
well, it's gonna look fun for him. It's gonna show just some of the things I can use, the different techniques. So when I go to the game store and someone's like, I can't paint, I hate hearing that. That's like it's a dumb pet peeve.
Mhm.
But when I hear people say I can't paint, I'm like, yes, you can. I don't care like how bad you think you are at painting, you can paint. And they're like, really? I was like, let me show you the easy ways. And they're like, well, I need to know the quick ways to cheat, which is why I don't like saying like the cheat ways, because
Mhm.
it's not really cheat. Like you're getting the model painted. Even if you were to pay someone to paint the model, that's still not even cheating. It's still getting done. And that's one of the things I really try to strive for people to like speak nicely of themselves sometimes when they're like, I can't do this. I'm like, you can. Like, even if you're not doing it 100% the first time, you can still do it and you can keep getting better at it.
Yeah, I think that's what I love the most about painting is you can keep learning about it, right? And
Yeah.
it does really reward like, you know, if you put in effort and you think about it, you'll get better, right?
I
If you
mean,
practice, you want to get better, you can get better.
I need to work on my color theory more. Um, but I feel like that I've bought in books on color theory. I haven't bought the cube that you like and that Taylor likes. Um, I've
Yeah, I'm not
bought
sure
in,
the cube improves your knowledge of color theory, but it does let you not learn it, which is the other way.
oh, is that
Like,
what it? Okay. So I
well, it lets you, the cube gives you things that go together naturally, right? And so you don't actually have to think about do these colors go together, right? You look at them and they're on the same sheet and you know, okay, then they must work.
Gotcha. No, one of the things I've been doing when I take the kids to the library, so I homeschool the kids and stuff like that, which is it's nice because then it gives me the opportunity sometimes throughout the day to, film like a podcast or something. Uh, but I've been pulling books on painting and stuff, and it's always humorous with the library, and they're like, "Oh, are you gonna learn how to paint a portrait?" Like, no, I need this for painting my miniatures. And they're like, what? And I was like, I need color theory, and I'm not going to go to Juilliard or anything like that. I need to make sure my miniature looks really cool as he's breathing fire and landing on to crush something.
Yeah, right. And I don't know. And we live in the internet age. There are more tutorials on the internet about how to paint things than there are, you know,
It's true.
miniatures themselves. That's probably not true, but you,
Well,
you know what I
well,
mean?
no,
Like,
it's
if you
so I
want to
think it's
learn
a
something, you can see 10 different videos about how to do it. And, that may not teach you, but you'll at least get a sense for what's going on, right?
so this is gonna sound horrible. I don't actually watch a lot of videos on how to do it. I'd rather read a book or like a blog, and I think it might be an
Oh,
age
that's the
thing.
main way I learn about painting. Yeah, it's
Is
videos.
So I've watched videos and stuff, but I really like reading. And it's
Okay.
like I had to set up a server the other day for Dune Awakening for the kids. And someone's like, "Oh, go
It's
watch a
Dune
video."
Awakening.
It's a video game, like a PC game,
Okay.
based in the Dune universe, so you're, scouring Arrakis and all that good stuff. So someone's like, "Oh yeah, go watch a video." I was like, or I can just go read the developer notes and, do it
Yeah,
that
it
way.
totally depends on what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, it's kind of like the joke is in the army. It's like, do you want to get like the -1 or get the manual, or do you want someone to like hands on it? You can give me the manual and I can do it that way. And then when you show me hands on, I'm like, okay,
and
yeah,
then
yeah. But I prefer reading it first. It's just how my learning method.
yeah. So I mean, it seems like your scheme's coming together pretty nicely.
I think it is. I think it is.
You're
I
running
think
out
the
of
pro.
orange on your dry brush, I think, is so, or maybe it's intentional. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. We're gonna see how it goes. I'm gonna go from here to a blue, so I'm gonna do some blue on the lower legs. And I'm thinking
Okay.
about after that, I'm gonna look back at some of the orange going back in here. and going back.
Yeah, I feel
I
like you
might
just
do it.
want some more orange on that crest of the wing right there. You did it
I
so nice on the back, you know.
I know it just doesn't
It's not really
want.
coming off the brush anymore. Like,
No. Well, yeah, it's one of those things like when you get to the point where if you add fresh paint in, it might not. If I push really
yeah, you
hard,
almost
maybe.
need to like wash the brush out, and I hate this part because when you wash the brush out, then it gets really wet, it resets it. You have no idea
And you
what
might
state
screw
it's
it up.
in.
Yeah.
Like you don't know what it's going to be like when you put it back on the model, and so it's like you try not to do it, but at some point it's like inevitable
Yeah, I was trying. I was just pushing harder and harder and harder, being like, please, please, I don't want to have to. But no,
to redo it. Yeah.
yeah,
Do you,
it's
Alex, do you consider this synthwave? Is it like because it's kind of synthwavy?
it is a little
Uh,
bit. I actually, when I was painting last night, for myself after the podcast with you guys, I stayed up and painted, and I listened to dark synthwave, and
Ooh.
it was quite nice listening to like dark techno and stuff like that. Um, so yeah, this would
Have we talked about do you listen to things when you paint?
I do. I listen to music and I listen to podcasts and then I listen to audiobooks. Depends on what
Audiobooks.
I'm painting. I use that as like
Yeah,
inspiration.
I listen to a lot of to audiobooks. It's not really inspiration for me, it's more like distraction. Um,
Gotcha.
if I want to get a lot painted, a good audiobook is the best way to do it.
So
Like I'll do a ton of painting if I've got an audiobook I'm really interested in.
as long as I've already listened to the audiobook, I've already read the book once, I can do that. Now, if I haven't, if it's like a brand new book and I will get distracted from my painting and I won't paint and I'll just listen to the audiobook. But there
Oh,
are definitely
really?
ones I will go through and listen again. Like, oh, let's see, the Mark of Cain series, or Way of Cain, Mark of Cain,
Hmm.
and those. Like I've gone through those multiple times. I really enjoy those. I was doing those for my Gravediggers. When I paint my Menoth, I will go through and do um, Into the Fire and Into the Storm, the Signarian books, or
Okay.
Into the Storm, Into the Wild, the Malcontent novels, or War Machine. And so but I've listened to those so many times where I don't really have to pay attention
Yeah,
and I
to
can
know
just
what's
enjoy
going on.
it. Yeah, like I'll phase in and out of like thinking like, oh, hey, yeah, this is my good part's coming up. I like this part.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna see
I
if I reset the brush correctly.
Oh yeah, yeah. Good luck. Godspeed.
We're gonna see. I
Let's
feel
get
like
on
it's
your palette a
really
little bit or your mat maybe. See how.
yeah, it's wet. We're gonna
Yeah. You
we'll
can dry it
see.
off with a paper towel. I don't know if you got
I
one.
do.
Like,
That's when I come off to the left side. That's where I have the paper towel.
okay.
So we're gonna see if it's.
Gentle.
I know. You have to gentle
Okay,
it
not bad.
first.
Looks
No,
like it's
no,
working. It's doing
it
what you
is.
want.
I just can't get cocky, is what it is. Also,
I know exactly what you mean.
I'm
Things are
glad you do.
working, you've got them under control, and then like you're like, well, I'll just do this, and then like, oh no, that was not well thought through. And it's just like get a big blob of paint on it. You've done really good not getting any like really, you know, if you don't brush it off on your hand well, you can get like these big splotches, and you've done a great job
Oh,
kind of ignoring that as far as I can tell.
I'm trying. We'll see. I don't want to get too cocky. I know as soon as I get cocky, then I'm done for.
Done. Yeah. I I painted my Tyranids watching the first 40 seasons of Survivor. So
Oh,
that was my painting show for a long time. Survivor's like perfect for painting in my mind because like the pace is incredibly slow, not that much happens, but it is kind of like interesting in like longer segments and like you can't really watch TV and paint, but there you can mostly just listen. Almost all the content's in the speaking. So
so you don't get like frustrated with reality TV? Is that like your guilty pleasure?
what do you mean?
So like I've tried
I
to
mean, I enjoy
watch.
Survivor. I don't know. I don't know how that translates to the question. Do I like get
So
frustrated with reality TV?
I used to watch reality TV with an ex, and she used to
Mhm.
be all about it, and it used to just be grating on me. And there's even been shows where Sheila has watched. I forgot. Well, there's been two reality TV shows that she's watched, and they just, I don't know if it's just the show itself. I don't want to. I'm not going to call it the show, but if it's just the show itself, just grating on me. Like she'd be like, "Oh yeah, just play a video game next to me while we watch the show, or paint next to me while I watch the show." And I was like, I can't. Can we put on something different? This is just,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Part of Okay, so part of what I mean, I watch Survivor. I don't think I'm like a big reality TV person in general, but
Okay.
one thing I like about it is I know that whatever I'm seeing isn't reality, right? It is some crafted narrative version of what happened. And I like
Yes.
thinking about what actually happened while I'm watching what they're showing me happened. Does that like that kind
No,
of
that
like
makes sense. Yeah. No, I
meta
get
that like meta
100%. I
participation
like
in the
that.
show?
I
I think
like
it's
that.
super interesting. I also like um I think you know, I don't think you see like the way people actually are when you see Survivor because one, you're seeing some like sculpted version of what happened, some crafted version of what happened, and then two, you're seeing people who are like pretty darn hungry and stressed, and so you're seeing like a really particular like you know version of them. Like it doesn't frustrate me when someone does something crazy on that show because they're probably just really hungry, right? Like they're
Okay.
probably a fine person, but they're acting a little bit insane because like that they're actually under quite a bit of stress.
So it's not like the
And then
real world or what's it, the other ones
yeah,
where
it's not like
it's,
those things because there is actually like actual source of stress, which is like
yeah.
they don't have shelter, they have limited amounts of food, those kinds of things. And then the other cool thing about Survivor that you can only get through like watching a lot of it is there's a lot of metagame and like meta narratives and
Really?
like people learn from previous seasons and talk about previous seasons when they're playing the current show, right? And so
Okay,
they're always
now
talking
I'm
about
learning
like
something.
how the game is evolving and like the strategies that people are playing and the way they talk about the first Survivors season 1. I don't think they knew what they were doing at all. Like the guy who won had kind of had he was the next level player. He had figured out the game before having watched it been played, right? He was kind of a natural or he understood what was going on, but you know, 10 seasons in, everybody's seen Survivor. Everybody knows how it works. People are playing the game now, right? They're not actually they're playing some second level version of Survivor, right? It's not like how do we survive? It's like how do I win this game is what they're playing.
So it's
And I think it's
well,
just like fascinating to see that.
in modern survival, do you get voted off by the audience or do you get voted off purely by the mind games that you play with the other contestants?
Um,
I haven't seen it in,
y-
I don't think I've actually ever sat down and watched an actual episode. I'm sorry.
okay,
I'm
so
uneducated.
gosh, well, let's call this "Let's Get You Painted Survivor Edition." It's uh, there are different rounds, right? So early on in the game, players are separated into different tribes, and the tribes compete against each other in challenges. And then the tribes that lose have to choose a person to vote off, and the people within the tribe vote for who gets removed. Um, and it's that part of the game is really interesting because the players are often worried about strong players. They want to win Survivor. And so they tend to vote out people they think will beat them at Survivor. And
So
so
they vote out the
sometimes
better
teams,
people.
yeah, and sometimes they handicap themselves, right? And so they'll vote off their good players and then they won't be able to win any challenges, right? And their tribe will crumble. And so they're trying to balance like who do I like? Who can I ally with? Who is a big threat to me at the end of the game? Who do we need to even get to the end of the game, right? So they're balancing different things. And then later on in the game, uh, there's a smaller group, and they'll do challenges, and one of them will get immunity, so they can't be voted off, and then the others will have to vote for the other people, and then all the players will vote for who gets voted off among the remaining players, and then
Gotcha.
at the very end of the game, I think it's at like the final three, everyone who has played Survivor comes back and gets to vote on the winner.
Oh, so you can't
So,
piss
so
off
if
people
you
too bad.
screw someone over, like you may not be able to get their vote when you get to the end, right? And I may have some of this wrong because it's probably been 3 or 4 years since I've seen a season, but
Hmm.
uh, it just there's a ton of strategy. They've created a really interesting set of incentives and systems, and it's fun to watch people play it. Like all within the context of like this strange, like vaguely survival adjacent show. They're not really like surviving, right? Like
So
they're
it's not
actually
like
real
Bear
survival
Grylls where
shows,
he
right?
goes out and just has to. So
Yeah, it's not like Bear Grylls or like Alone is another like kind of survival oriented show.
which is
This is
so
this is
Survivor
a
isn't the
game,
one
right?
where
It's Mhm.
is was there a version of Survivor where they like threw them all off the raft and it was what could you take in like 2 minutes to survive on an island, or
Oh
is
yeah,
that some?
yeah. Super classic Survivor setup is they all like they pretend they've been marooned and like all the players start on a ship, they get assigned
Mhm.
teams, and then like the host says you have 1 minute to get off the ship. Anything you want to take with you, throw overboard. Try to get it to the island, and like yeah, people just throwing stuff overboard and jumping overboard and trying to catch stuff. It's great.
That's yeah,
Um,
that man. All right, so I did a little bit of dry brushing of the brown on the base. So now what I'm going to do
okay.
is I'm going to mix some of the, I have copper here. I'm going to mix it with some of the orange, and then I'm going to try to layer the coppery orange on over the top of some of these areas to bring
Oh, so
a
you're adding some
metallic.
metallics in now. Okay.
Yes, we're going to see how that goes. I'm only going to be doing it on the bottom of both of the wings.
Okay. So this is like kind of an effect, right? The wings
Yeah,
at the bottom are more metallic. Maybe they're more like weathered or something like that, and so you can see some of the metallic bits kind of shining through.
that is the hope. So we will see if it actually works. And by doing that, I'm just going to go back and forth between the two colors, trying to mix the copper and the orange. I do a copper and an orange instead of a gold and an orange because I find that
Mhm.
they work better in sequence. Whereas if I do a gold and an
Or
orange, it really affects, it gets more of a yellowy orange. Whereas the
yeah,
orange and the
coppers
copper.
have some red in them, right? Sort of
Hmm.
innately, and so I think it probably aligns better with the orange. Golds are usually more yellow,
Yeah.
so you'd get a different effect if you go that way.
And if you go
Yeah,
with
I
like a
like
brass, you get more of a brown.
oh yeah, I could imagine that, right? Um, I've for my bronze, I experimented some with like putting metallics in my or putting colors in my metallics. So
Hmm.
I really liked taking like a steel color and adding like a blue contrast paint to it. And you get this kind of nice, interesting metallic-y, but with like kind of a steel blue kind of flavor to it. I thought that was nice. And then I really like adding red and orange contrast paints to things like gold. It gives them a really rich, interesting color. So you're
So,
being
and I'm,
real careful here, just picking out the high parts.
yep, on each of the
But
wings. Which I don't know if you can tell on camera what's high and what's low, but I'm trying to do so that there's like a wing here, a wing here, a wing here. There's like basically five separate wing parts,
yeah, if I knew more anatomy, I'd tell you what kind it was.
but you can see it like it definitely does have like a coppery orange
Hmm.
cut to it. And then I'm trying to get a
So
little bit near the edge. Go ahead.
a little near the edge. Yeah, I
Just to
think
give it
it'll
that.
be interesting too because it's gonna add some like yeah a little bit of shine and interest. Like it's kind of like an extra highlight when you've got that metallic in there, right?
Hmm.
And it is giving kind of a third. It's a little more opaque than your other colors, I think, too.
It
It's
is.
helping kind of fill things out. Are you gonna do something special for the spines?
I am. So I'm actually going to hand paint those compared to
Nice.
just straight dry brushing. I probably should have switched to a smaller dry brush, but I already had it all set,
Yeah,
and I
you're
was like,
doing
well,
okay. It is hard though. That's like one of the dry brushing small bits is like it definitely requires
yeah,
more precision. It's harder to do.
I know that Dan has told me that when he can tell when I'm focused because I stop talking. He's like, I could just look up and you're just focusing on the model. I was like, yep, yep.
Hmm.
I've stopped talking because I'm trying to make sure I don't jack it up.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell a quick story to help you so you
I
don't have to
appreciate
double
that.
task. And I'll warn you, I got about 5 minutes before I got to go hop to my other call. So,
Absolutely, I understand.
um, I mean, I was asking you about how you started painting earlier because I think my story is like really the same, right? I started when I was like in high school. I actually had some wood elves. I painted them with like whatever I had. I mostly just cared about, oh, that's looking really nice. Those tips there, that orangey red color that you're getting from the metallics goes really good with your pinks. I'll have to try that out sometime.
Absolutely.
Um,
Feel free
but
to
yeah, I mean, for a
steal
long time,
anything
I
you
just
want.
painted because I wanted to play, right? And I kind of felt like you should paint, but I didn't really like painting. Um, but and I never really thought I was like very artistic, right? So, but I don't know. It's like one of those things you can spend a lot of time on it over the years and get better at it and start to enjoy it in its own way. It's like a really nice way to connect with the hobby, I think, when you can't be at the game store playing or, that kind of thing.
Hmm.
It's not frustrating like the dojo is or like, talking theory or metagame or whatever, right? Like painting's like much more relaxing, much more low key.
Well, I like that you definitely have different. You'll have people who will come in who will just paint. Like one of my favorite people in Fayetteville, Darren. I don't think you listen, but Darren, you're awesome, and I loved all the theories you used to give me on painting. Um, but when you come in and you sit down, and I can't remember the number of times I saw Darren play, but him sitting there painting and just watching him enjoy it, and also he
Hmm.
would be helping give suggestions. But yeah, go ahead. Tell me about like when you were doing it. Like so
No, I
you would
mean
try to
that's
paint and.
all I have to say. Like you can I think, you know, I painted it for a long time because I had to paint to play. And
Hmm.
like with my Skorne, I was like a little bit more serious, but still I was really painting just because I wanted to play like in hardcores and that kind of thing, right?
Hmm.
So it's painting enough to get, I got better all the time, but even now I still paint the most when I want to play a model, right? I don't paint too much for models I don't want to play. It's when I run out of steam, but still it's a nice thing. Ooh, that is a spicy hot pink.
So I mixed fluorescent pink and fluorescent purple,
Okay.
and then I kind of left it. I don't know if you can see on the palette. I left it kind of marbled. So as
Yeah,
I
oh, interesting.
pull,
Okay, so you're gonna
I
get some
can
different like. Yeah.
it'll blend, but I can pull from different parts of the watered down puddle. I don't know if a puddle is the better way to put it.
I like it.
Um,
Puddle. It's a great way to
but
put it.
it's a when I pull from it, it actually works really well for making everything blend, but also it's not perfectly the same.
Okay.
Which for things
I think
like
it
this, I
turned
think
out great. Mm.
I watch my wife, so she does water marbling when she does all the different nail art she does,
Oh,
and
okay.
I see her do stuff like that, and I'm like, I'm gonna steal that for painting, and it works, which is pretty awesome when it works. So, Joe, if you ever
That's a
want to
cool
come back
technique.
and,
Hmm.
paint with me in the future or just even chat, you don't even have to necessarily be on video if you don't want. It's been a lot of fun. I know you're going to get ready to head on out here in a bit because you have your next
Yeah,
meeting.
man, sounds sweet. Also, that's looking dope. Those pink spines really made this thing turn alive. I'm glad I got to see that.
Yep.
Like,
Like I
it's
said,
just cool to watch the model like get unveiled, right, in the process of painting.
well, it's always fun though when you're like, I know how I'm going to paint this. So here, I'll give you an example. So this is how, when my son painted his first one, he's like, I
Hmm.
guess you can't see. Uh, so he did hard
You can kind of
edges.
butterfly stripe. I like
Yep.
it. Yeah.
And then he did same thing on the wings on the inside. And then he did just purple deep inside for the chest. So I wanted to
Hmm.
do something, similar, but also a little different with this.
I think it's
And
great. I love what you did with that pink. That really makes this guy shine. All right,
by
dude. It's
making
been a
sure,
pleasure. Thank you for having me. I'm gonna
thank you for
bounce.
coming on. Thank you for everyone
Yeah.
coming to Let's Get You Painted. This again has been Joe from the Atlanteans, and thank you everyone. So make sure you get out there and get painted. Bye.
Bye.